In the story that follows, student learning took place over the course of a trimester. The goals were for the students to improve their ability to do math, as well as change their habits, their own expectations for themselves in regards to performance and ability. The students were expected to acquire a fixed body of predetermined knowledge, including new math concepts, terms, and definitions, and be able to apply that new knowledge on various forms of assessments. None of these assessments, over the course of the trimester, were multiple choice. Students would also be asked to apply prior knowledge of shapes and algebraic concepts to what they learned. Given the classroom dynamic, what followed was fun to see. The first semester class of Geometry Fundamentals at Saline High School was a small one. It was a co-taught class consisting of only 16 students, 50% or more of which were receiving special education support. With the exception of one student who had been homeschooled until her junior year, the other 50% of the class either had difficulty with math, focus, a history of performing poorly in school, or all of the above. During the first day of the class, as the lead teacher was getting to know the students, 15 of the 16 expressed a lack of confidence in their ability to do math. Geometry, however, is different than the math classes the students had taken previously. While there were still formulas to work with, similar to algebra and shapes the kids were familiar with, the kids had to put the two together and then learn new shapes and postulates and theorems, and there was also new vocabulary. Students would have to study all of these things and be familiar with them so that they could then draw on prior knowledge of shapes and algebraic equations and apply them to math problems they had to work on throughout the trimester. Even though the class was small, both the lead teacher and I knew we had a challenge ahead of us. This would all be very abstract to the group. The students seemed overwhelmed and confused by the quantity of language they all of a sudden had to deal with in a math class. To make it more challenging, some of the kids had trouble with reading comprehension, and while the test could be read to them, if they couldn't or didn't know how to study properly, there was going to be trouble. What could we do to help the kids? How could we get a group of kids who came in with a preconceived notion of failure to overlook that and at least try? We could teach them and coach them in class, but what happens after that? Note cards weren't going to work. Vocabulary sheets? Nope. Emails home? That might work, but homework was barely getting done when daily emails were going out already. All but one of the students in the class utilized a smartphone. They were out before every class, playing games, texting, using social media. What if I offered to start a Quizlet page for the kids? I mean, they'd still be studying, but with their phones or a computer. And they wouldn't have to keep track of note cards or let anyone see them studying. I wonder if they'd give it a shot. So I asked, if I start a Quizlet, will you guys use it? A high majority of the kids said yes, so off I went. After I set up my account and entered the terms, we had every student set up a Quizlet account and share it with us for test points. After 3 weeks, the students were tasked with creating and sharing, for test credit, their own Quizlet for the current chapter. Despite a couple of moans and groans, the students began. I completed my own for them to again use as a guide. Though the students didn't like entering definitions, they knew it would help them get a better grade on their tests, so they gave it a shot, because they didn't believe that studying was actually helping. The students were again asked to create a Quizlet in week 4. They were told they could work in pairs, which got them shuffling. No moans, no groans, the kids were just working, and socializing a little. As I walked around the room, I noticed that the kids had decided to share the load, split up the vocabulary, and share the terms with each other, to diminish the amount of typing they had to do. Okay, so no complaining, working together, and studying for geometry? That's progress. Not only were the students working together and making flashcards to study geometry, but they were exploring the app. They were checking out features of the app, which gave them alternative means to study, and sharing with each other. They were matching, having the terms read to them, filling in the blank, and playing games to learn. Better yet, teaching each other how to study and showing me features of the app that I wasn't aware were available. This continued through week 11 of the trimester, with week 12 being final exams. In the end, not one student had failed the class, and the average was about 75%, with only one student getting below a 70 and 3 students nearing 100%. This was significantly higher than the typical geometry fundamentals classes. The students' confidence in their ability to do math improved, and they seemed to be looking forward to the second trimester of geometry fundamentals.